From there, the first thing we have are meeting minutes that are on the agenda. I have to apologize, I didn't read them until today, and I think there are some omissions that need to be added and some changes that need to be made. So I'd recommend holding off to the next meeting, and I'll get you sometime this week what changes that I have. Did you guys have any? Okay. All right. With that in mind, the only thing we have on the agenda today is the appeal of the so-called filtration testing order that was continued from an earlier meeting. It was continued from April 6th. We won't be taking any public comment or questions during the hearing. So I would ask for a motion to open the hearing. Motion to open the hearing.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, with that said, George, you're on.
Good afternoon, everyone. George Hyland, representing Mass Natural Fertilizer, as well as with the approval of other members of the cost-sharing group, I like to call it, that are working on the Westminster PFAS compliance with DEP's regulations and Massachusetts contingency plan. And then before the Board of Health today to respond to a request for clarification, and also research that went on regarding the filtration systems up in the Beanport and Hill area road. There is approximately, as everyone's aware, there's approximately, I believe there's 187 remaining. We had 195 put in. These are these POH systems, which is the acronym is the point of entry treatment. And these are systems that have been installed on these homes to remove PFAS and its constituents. I memorialized a lot of what I was going to discuss tonight in a letter that I sent to Abby as well as the board to kind of give a summary and to document our position on the need or the request by the Board of Health to do additional sampling beyond PFAS sampling, which would include the array of drinking water standards that accompany every private well obligation. So when there's a private well, they need to test for those parameters, beginning like nitrates, magnesium. There's a whole set of these tests that are done. We, on the other hand, are only required by the department to focus on PFAS. However, these systems are so comprehensive and so efficient, they take much more out of the drinking water wells that these systems are operating. So if we recall, the actual configuration is you have, we test the system periodically, very often, at each one of those systems. And it's usually done at the influent, the midpoint, and the effluent. And suffice to say, and I put this in my letter, was that we've done 187 over the last approximately 3 years. And we figured out it's like 560 years of POH system monitoring. And we've never had a single breakout of any of these chemicals. So suffice to say, the department, as well as most other agencies that regulate or are involved in these type of cleanups, this is Plan A. This is the gold standard on making sure that there's no exposure pathways. And we've accomplished that. I do want to bring up the issue regarding water deliveries that were discontinued, and we've had these discussions with the Board of Health, as well as the department, and they were discontinued pursuant to Judge Guzman's direction due to the fact that these POH systems are working so well. And
Sorry, I thought I shut it off.
so that's all right. It's good to. Anyway, I spent too much time outside. Anyway, so this water, and I believe this stems. We've received different types of inquiries. We're attempting to respond to those. We're working with DEP right now to make that efficient. Everybody requires, because this is all on the record, is we have a website. We do public meetings. We go in front of the Board of Health. We try to be as transparent and comprehensive as possible in getting this information to the residents, as well as the board, as well as to the department through our engineers, both our professional engineers and our LSP of record. And I believe you're sitting in on those DEP technical meetings, so you can corroborate that we have these monthly discussions about this. So it's been a productive process, and what we all fail to understand is this was the largest, the original PFAS site in Massachusetts, from a composting facility that was licensed by the Department of Environmental Protection. So I always take the opportunity to tell everyone that Mass Natural Fertilizer, which was a composting facility, which was a green company to reduce waste stream in the Commonwealth, is situated similar to the homeowners in that we didn't cause this. We accepted this on a license that was approved by the Department of Environmental Protection. And I want everybody who was involved to understand that everything we've done is to make that situation improve, and we're doing so. I believe we've made great progress with the help of the Board of Health in the town of Westminster, as well as the Department of Environmental Protection. Most of the time, the department is very good as to technical feedback and working with us on cutting-edge issues that present themselves. There's a few other issues I wanted to bring up just before we talk about my end proposal to the commission, to the Board of Health Commission, is that we're doing, as we speak, we're doing another, I believe, 60 couplets. Is that what the Board of Health approved? Those are ongoing right now. They started on Monday, and we're further defining our disposal area. And you'll hear all this on June 1st. But just to not to be redundant, but we're defining the disposal area that our clients, Mass Natural Fertilizer, is going to be responsible for. There's some data that was submitted, and as you've been privy to this, we talked about it in the last technical meeting, that indicates that Mass Natural Fertilizer, some of the PFAS, which is ubiquitous, I might add, everywhere. But you can break down what types of PFAS, PFOS, and their constituents are originating from. And the preliminary discussion, data analysis that we have is we are not, there's certain areas along our earlier proposed area that doesn't have our footprint. But we're endeavoring to do more work to further define that. That's going on right now, and I thank the Board of Health for approving those well control permits. It took some time, but it's now in motion. Also, so we just wanted to let everyone know that, and also clear the record up that, and I haven't had any of these calls in a while, but the water quality on these POH systems is better than bottled water, as how it's coming through. Okay, this is so efficient. 99% is efficient on these POH systems, and I do want to cite my EPA document 815R24011, best available control technologies and small system compliance technologies for PFAS. And that is kind of the foundation of what everyone's doing around the country to address these this issue, particularly private water supplies. There's been hundreds of millions of dollars spent on private water supplies, but this is the one. This is a big issue, and anybody that's around Massachusetts that is dealing with municipalities, they're all confronted with these issues. So, and I do appreciate the board allowing me to have time to explain what we've been doing and what we propose to do. What we propose to do is because of the improved, we don't believe anything should change as far as how we treat, how we deal. This is approved by the department, recommended by the department as a direct oversight partner in this. But we don't believe that we are responsible for doing drinking water standard testing. We understand that there's been some non-scientific representations that these PFASs are creating nitrates or they're creating other forms of other compounds, chemical compounds or organic compounds. And we don't see any data. We did research on this. We're trying to find data that establishes this particular concern. We just couldn't find it. Now, what we have done is we voluntarily helped out putting water softeners on to some of these. Again, Westminster has murky, harsh, I'm trying to be harsh water, which is iron, magnesium, lead, nitrates, depending on where you are, because each well is different. So in a spirit of trying to address these issues and establish at least some baseline, I set forth at the end of this letter and put it in writing to say we will do some sampling over the next 30 to 45 days and test influent and effluent of some of the wells that we've had cold systems on to confirm, that's what I'm going to prove a negative. Okay, and that's basically how I wanted to present. The commission was good enough to allow us to do the research, which is basically reinforced what we discussed, but also in a spirit of working with the Board of Health to find some type of mechanism to make everyone feel comfortable that these things are working. Because if they're not working, then there's probably 100,000 POET systems around Massachusetts that might have problems, and they haven't had any of these problems. So that's why we'll do that testing, and I wanted to present that in person and cite those issues that have been popping up recently due to the discontinuance of water deliveries. The POET systems are working well.
Okay. George, you made the statement that the water coming out of the POETs is better than bottled water.
Yes.
Does your bottled water smell?
No, and but again, the POET system, what we have is, and I just brought up the water softeners. The answer is no. My bottled water doesn't, and we don't believe the POET systems have that unless there's some original. Again, these are not from PFAS or the POET system. If there is, we've been attempting to fine tune some of those houses that have unique problems, shallow wells. But again, I don't think to ask that question, you're addressing the issue of what is coming into those POET systems.
You made a simple statement. The water coming out of the POETs is better than.
Well, that was in the context of PFAS.
I think we made it clear in the first, in our first meeting on this, that we weren't trying to address PFAS. All the data that you supplied over the last 2 years or more shows that the POETs are successfully removing the PFAS. Okay? And we are preempted from dealing with PFAS. That's done with Mass DEP. The issue we have is we have residents that continue to complain that their water smells, their water is discolored, not in every case, that their water stains. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, in order, when Mass Natural installed the pellets, they had to remove filtration equipment that was already in these homes, primarily because the way they work is they backwash and dump water, and that water would be dumping during the backwash cycle PFAS out into the ground. So, in the last 10 years or so, all homes, before they're built or occupied in Westminster, need to meet all primary and secondary standards. We have evidence of that. The fact that we signed off on the occupancy certificate and the building permit indicate that we were in agreement. For whatever reason, when the pellets were installed, something changed. Whether it's removing those prior filters, and much to your credit, I think you've done a valiant job, an A+ job, in installing secondary treatment, like you said, softener, ion filters, and trying to resolve that. But in spite of all that work, there are residents that still have an issue with their water. It's no longer meeting. They're complaining that it no longer meets the standards that were required before they occupied the home. And if you look at our order, we don't mention POTUS in our order. We mention filtration. We look at it as the whole thing. And if somehow taking filters out, putting POTUS in their place, somehow exacerbated the problem and now it no longer exists, then it's broken and it needs to be fixed. And I look at Mass Natural as the one who broke it, lacking any evidence to the contrary. So I think we have two choices. We can say, Mass Natural, you installed this equipment, you don't know that it's working because it's never been tested, okay? Or we can tell the homeowners, go ahead and test it, and if it's bad, then you need to sue Mass Natural. You own the equipment, you own all these filters, you maintain them. I think it's incumbent upon you to make sure they're doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. And these people don't have the water quality problems that they did before this whole unfortunate event started. I mean, that's just my view. You said there were 187 of us.
Yes.
How many homes have you installed this additional filtration?
When you say addition, you mean the water softeners?
The water
Probably
softeners and the
six,
ion
seven.
filters?
Yes, probably maybe, rough ballpark, probably half.
Half of them?
I mean, that's documented in the IRA report that we submitted to the department.
I've personally gone into 2 or 3 homes, and the filtration Some homes have 3 pellets, some people have 2 pellets. We discussed with you in February of getting the configuration of what was installed in the homes. I think the commitment at that time was for May 1st or something like that. We haven't seen that, so we had that in the order also for you to supply us with the configurations so that from a Board of Health perspective, we could respond to the residents and help and discuss with them their problems and the potential issues. Did you have, either of you have questions or comments?
I guess the main comment I hear is that these people began with potable water. And that was not water that stained, that was not water that smelled. And now they have a POH system in place and they are having problems with their water, and they should not be having problems with their water. I do believe that the responsibility of the parties is not to say, well, we're going to pull out the PFAS and now it's your problem. It's the fact to return them to their original standard, to make them whole. And I just see resistance in attempting to make people whole right now. Just to give them what they had in the first place.
I mean, if you installed additional systems, it seems to make sense that you would test that those systems are working.
So first, let me just respond. The sampling, we don't know what the quality of water was before this unfortunate situation with the PFAS, implementation of the PFAS regulations in 2020. There are a lot, even when we asked for these records from the approvals from the Board of Health, they were incomplete. And sampling is very sporadic. Some of them was so old. You had some old ones, but even the recent ones you have issues regarding, and again, even at these hearings, it's been represented that that there's issues with the water quality, not the water quality, the murkiness or the high iron and the high manganese and sometimes nitrate issues depending on where you're located. So what we're saying is the POH systems aren't the cause of that problem, even the softwares. If they are, we would address those. What we're concerned with is that these have to be tested anyway. These wells have to be tested anyway. We just don't believe that it's our responsibility to do so. Now, the Board of Health, if somebody has given me some scientific data and evidence on effluent, but we've had again, there's a list of people who have complained about odor and staining, and we've addressed those on an individual basis. And I believe we actually did testing just before the last meeting. We found it was on non-detect. So my point is that we're taking a step further today and saying, okay, we're going to do some more sampling just to confirm that these systems are not contributing to that problem. Nobody's preventing the homeowners. If the homeowners have a problem, we would like to see it. But I don't know what the protocol is for sampling private wells in Westminster periodically. I don't know, but I haven't seen any data that indicates that the POH systems are contributing to that, even though we've tried to address it. But every time we've done that, it's been a non-detect, and we did that up on BOH Road. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to work with the Board of Health. That's why I wanted to put those 5, to start with some sampling to confirm what we're influent and effluent and see what we have. But that's the scientific method on how to do this, not the fact that somebody is going to say, I have odor, I have staining. We have to figure out what's causing it, and we're trying to do that, and we've offered to do that in this slide.
Well, let me address for a second the murkiness of Westminster water. I've been very upfront personally. Nitrates, first of all, is a no-no. makes the water non-potable, not to be drank. And every time, a few times you've sensed nitrates and you've been kind enough to go back and remeasure, and as expected, it didn't show nitrates. Nitrates is an indication of septic pollution.
It could be farming, so,
Okay.
yeah, I'm familiar with the areas.
Oh, okay. Odor is that comes from a faucet or from a shower. It's not something you can measure in a lab. Okay? Hydrogen sulfide gas is very volatile in the air, and as it comes through the aerator on the fixture, your nose, which is the most sensitive, will pick it up. And just filling that vial, unless there's preservatives that have been added to the vial, that hydrogen sulfide won't make it to the lab. Okay?
Where do you get the hydrogen sulfide issue?
That's the rotten egg smell.
No, I know that, but what's the origin that you're alleging? Where is it hydrogen? Hydrogen is anaerobic. It's a byproduct.
That's what
I'm
people
trying to
are
figure out.
complaining. I personally have it in my own.
But I'm saying, just let us know what residents are having that problem, and we'll take a look at it.
Oh, wait a minute, George. There's email after email after email that has gone to both DEP, correct me if I'm wrong, on complaints about odor.
Not a lot, but enough where it's brought to our attention, and we've actually, I think.
This is nothing new.
No, it is kind of new since it was a discontinuance of water deliveries. It seemed to get a little bit more pronounced over the last few months based on our requirement to discontinue water deliveries and rely on public systems.
And unless you're sampling it right at the faucet and not capturing it and bringing it to the lab's going to be non-detect. Now let me go on, please. As far as I've said in Westminster, we have high iron. So do a lot of the 351 communities in Massachusetts. We have high manganese. So do the other 351. Is it higher than some? Yes. It's not the highest in the state. So yes, there are some issues that need to be treated, and that's why we spend a great deal of time prior to allowing occupancy to make sure that all of these issues are resolved with proper filtration. In many cases, if that filtration equipment was in prior to the installation of the POETs, Mass Natural removed it. Okay?
I want, again, that's one fact that you're alleging that I'm unaware of, that there was multiple removals of filter systems, but I'll look into that and we'll.
Please do.
But again, I'm unaware of that. However, I am aware that, that we're offering to do some sampling outside of the PFAS obligations that we have.
Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How are you going to decide your sample? Because it could be very easy to pick samples of places that are not having problems and in a way avoid detecting the problem. I mean, I really think you need a clear random sample that will include both affected and non-affected houses to do a proper sample. And I would like to know what your sampling technique
Well,
would be.
again, we have an LSP of record who have great respect for, and he has ethical responsibilities through his certification, and he will pick, depending on, again, I can check on that, get back to the board on it, but I don't know, but I would rely on the LSP of record in the disposal area, lateral side. And if he identifies five, the parameters we can supply to the Board of Health if they'd like that happen. But again, I mean, that's one person I don't think would trying to circumvent the intent behind what we're trying to do here. How's that?
Okay, I just would like to see what,
Yeah, we'll send it.
and to confirm in my mind the randomness of the sample.
No, we can send it. I mean, again, what Larry, which ones, yeah, I mean, again, I have no problems with, again, as we always have been, being transparent. I do wanna make sure that we can, and the old factory issue you're talking about, we've actually, I think we got Nate Morris, who's a plumber, is where you have kind of that disconnect between science and the plumbing obligations and the monitoring of it, that we can look and see if we can do some old factory testing. Now, your particular situation with hydrogen sulfide, I'd love to hear about it, because it's probably from the system you have, right? The chemical reaction. At your house, you said you had hydrogen sulfide.
The ion filters that you guys have installed, if programmed correctly, this is my opinion.
Right.
Okay, only my opinion, okay? The ion filters that you have installed, they're very nice filters, okay? They build an air pillow at the top of at the top. If the filter is programmed correctly and is operating as it should, in my opinion, should get rid of that hydrogen sulfide very, very easily. Okay? Because the air pillow oxidizes the hydrogen sulfide, and when it goes through the backwash procedure, it empties out that pillow, it rebuilds that air pillow, and when it normally functions, the incoming water sprays down through that captive air pillow.
Right.
That's what happens in my home.
You are aware that we do inspections and resample those systems numerous times a year, each one, correct? So, I state this in my letter, these POET systems have been, again, and DEP is,
We're not talking about POET systems.
No, but I'm saying what caused it, the filter system, we don't know that, so each individual, we're in a situation with each individual concern, whether it be olfactory or basically a staining, or I'm trying to figure out, it's not a lot, and again, when we're doing 360 homes, we're not dealing with a lot, and it will only be, for the record, it's only been the last few months this has occurred, these issues.
Well, I wouldn't characterize it. It's only the last few months that they've been highlighted so much because because of the discontinuity of the bottled water. You take a glass of water and bring it to your face, and you get a sniff of rotten eggs. And now you're forced, because
We've not
you don't have
gotten it. So we've not gotten a complaint, and actually, we can actually test for that, for hydrogen sulfide.
Yes, but it has to be tested at the faucet.
So again, then we can monitor, I don't want to get into integral composite sampling of people's drinking water well, but I did those many years ago when I was doing wastewater treatment plant inspections. So these are those types of things that can be done if the need requires it. But I think the first step would be to do some sampling, and I think we have a suggestion from the board that we identify the criteria and then see what we have, and then report back to the Board of Health.
All right, George. I looked at your proposal. I got it about an hour ago.
Yeah, my apologies, I needed okay from, I needed approval this morning. A lot of chefs in the kitchen.
I would suggest that if we do an interim step here, that we probably do 20 to 25 homes. You let us pick who gets tested,
With what criteria?
to the primary and secondary standards that are in Westminster's regulations.
No, again, on criteria, what would prompt you to select a home? That's my point.
Those homes that we have the most complaints with.
Okay, so it's not, definitely not 20.
I haven't gotten the list yet.
We don't have that number. I mean, this is why we get a small group here, but you want those to be complained, which we're doing anyway.
What's that?
We're addressing those individual concerns.
But water has not been tested when it gets done.
But what would be your criteria? That's what, so if you want, you're basically saying anybody that complains,
No,
we have to get criteria.
why do you need criteria? We'll take this 20
There's 360 homes that have no, most of them, they're not part of this issue. So I'm trying to figure out what I go back to my LSP on, who has to approve any activities going on.
What I see here is we're talking about two different things with respect to sampling. Your original proposal, I believe, was looking at a random sample, and to test homes irrespective if there was a problem or not with them. But there would be some homes that indeed would have had problems. What Mr. Simoncini is suggesting is that we have houses that are now that are having problems, and we would specifically like to look at those houses to see is there something wrong with this before we make a larger random survey.
That's again, I have no problem with that approach, but I didn't say that in my letter. What I said in my letter was, MF will agree to sample water at 5 properties over the next 45 days. The properties to be sampled will be selected by the Star Environmental. That's what I'm saying. So what I want to do, and this is why I was asking what criteria, so we give them a criterion, so you just define that those who have complained, correct? Of odor, staining,
I mean, I'm staining.
any laboratory analysis, any type of
You
supplemental.
still want to include nitrates?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to do.
The scan that we require in our water regulations.
No, but,
Okay.
Okay, but I mean, I don't know if you're,
that's everyone.
yeah, I don't know if you're going to, if you're going to catch the iron issue, because I think the iron issue is a change in pH.
Yes, because
And so, I mean, you have to look at that. But in other words, I think that you want to look at, I think you were originally, or what you're saying now, is to find the houses that are having problems, and let's look at that water and see if indeed it is clean, or if there are changes in that water. And yes, you want to look at inflow and outflow of to the filters, and see are there any changes.
Again, we're doing it.
and our standard includes iron, manganese, odor, pH. There are probably 30 things or more that are required.
Okay.
Again, if it's originating from the POET system, we'll freely accept responsibility and work
Okay.
with that home. What you're suggesting is to do a array of sampling that has no relevance to what we're trying to do. And if the Board of Health has to create their own sampling protocol and have somebody do it, and it's found to be our POET systems, I welcome that. But right now, we don't see enough evidence. We will work with everybody, okay? Anybody that has a problem, we address that, and we will do the appropriate sampling. But just to say, I want to do all these samples, there has to be a reason for it.
Okay.
The reason is we have tests that show that it met all these requirements before the house was occupied.
Yeah. So if it's working, so again, mass balance equation, you're basically saying influent should equal to effluent, obviously laboratory error and those things, but what we can figure out. So I think we're in agreement. I just want to make sure that I can go back to the LSP of record, who you can't breathe out there without DEP or the LSP of record approving it with the criteria. So, and I believe those who have complained, we can get a list of those, and I can work with Abby on that and try and figure out who they are. But I think you'll find that we've already done a lot of that. But we will continue to do it. But with regard to, in these samples, we will endeavor to find other locations that are unique. But right now, we have a limited pairing or group that we're trying to work with. I just need to know what your criteria would be. And Abby, I'd be glad to work with you on how you want to do it. How's that?
No, you gotta work with the board.
Well, again,
George, okay. George,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hide you. I look, well, she's here all the time, that's why.
Okay, but the board would be the one to indicate what that criteria,
Absolutely.
and she would in fact just be reinforcing what the board.
I agree, yes, that's what I did. That's what I did.
Jeff,
Sure, I do think this is legal because we'll have the draft up in the morning. So we keep talking about criteria. And my understanding of your order is that you want them to sample like it was a new well. Like they have to provide you a new well application, and there's a whole bunch of criteria, there's a whole bunch of constituents that they sample for. The criteria I think that you're talking about is what's the criteria for our pick? And I don't know that, I mean, 20 people, yeah, wouldn't you want to sample the people that are having troubles?
Yes.
But wouldn't you also want to sample people that aren't? So I think the board could certainly do that. And I think it's reasonable for them to do that. I don't understand why I have to keep being put off to come up with criteria. The criteria is they're gonna pick 10 that have problems and 10 that have never complained.
Yeah, well, it would be a controlled sampling run.
Yeah.
Which again, this is what I'm looking for, so I can go back to the LSP and figure it out. Again, I don't know if we can do it tonight, but if the board, you all want to go into an executive session and talk about it, I'm fine, and then Abby can get back to me, but we'll work with you. We will, but in the interim, I will check with Larry Lassard to see if he has any ideas. And maybe a drinking water, maybe somebody at the department, DEP, and okay, how do we handle, what type of sampling methodology do we do with someone that has an odor issue? So that's what I'm looking at. Or somebody, because the unique complaints have to be addressed individually. That's my point.
Point of clarification.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, you can talk about poet a lot, but I think it should be clear that we want to sample effluent from all filters.
Well, what?
All filters.
Yeah,
So the
like,
water
yeah,
softener in addition to poet.
Yeah, and Ed brought up something I was unaware of, that we remove filtering systems that I was unaware of, so I gotta have to take a look at which ones those were, and that might be a sampling group.
Yeah.
If we can identify those, and I'll talk to Larry.
I am not concerned with the
Effectiveness.
inflow, what's coming out of the well. Okay? You guys may be, okay? But I'm interested in the water that, after it's left all the filtration, before it becomes available for the resident to use for cooking and drinking. That's the quality of the water I'm interested in.
Yes.
And we here in Westminster, for at least the last 10 years, probably much longer, I'd have to take a look, has not let a house be built unless it met those standards. And all I'm asking is something very simple.
Including the shallow wells up near the golf course?
What's that?
The shallow wells near the golf course,
I have no idea.
Okay.
As far as I know, I don't personally know how many wells are up there. There's one drinking water well, and there is another artesian well. Are there a whole bunch of shallow wells up there? Do you know for a fact that there is?
I know that there's periodic, issues with wells drying up,
With what?
wells going dry.
I think there was some.
So when you say the golf course, you're talking about not the golf course, you're talking about the woods of Westminster.
So I'm just trying to say this is something that needs to be looked at, okay? And that's something that needs to be done. Because, and we have no problem with dealing with, as I said.
Well, we're not dealing with wells that go dry here. We're dealing with contaminated
But
water.
that affects concentrations, okay? And this is something that, when you're dealing with concentrations versus pollutant, they have to be
Again,
correct.
we have no authority over the PFAS issue.
Right.
PFAS issues.
No, I'm not
need
saying,
to
I'm
be
talking about
discussed.
anything else. We need to know in the influent, what is going into that system before we can figure out what's going on.
Okay, I mean, to me, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a problem with testing the water going in and testing the water going out.
Oh, it's
And-
fine.
I mean, yeah, and our concern is that that water is potable and it's consistent with the water that they had when they first started drinking.
I agree.
Our concern is the water coming out.
Right,
Okay?
right,
We don't have an issue with the water coming in being tested.
okay.
I agree. No, very good.
I have one quick comment because I am a lawyer and I'm here just in case. I would suggest that when you choose these wells, that you look at your data and make sure that you have the well permit with the tests in your file so that we truly can at least have, this is what we approved, and later on down the road, this is what became. Now, there ultimately could be a fight over what caused that variation, but at least we'll have this rather than,
Sure.
like all municipal records, some of them get lost, some of them are in a file that we don't find. So it would be nice if we picked 20 that we had I'll call it a control. I'm sure that my scientist friend over here would cringe at my characterization, but a control, right? 10 years ago, it met all of these. And we got 20 of them. 10 years ago, so we at least have a basic.
Yes, Andy?
We have.
Do you guys feel as though we should be going in this direction of sampling of few wells versus all the wells? Because I think that's what the recommendation is. Right?
Okay, I would say you have problems with wells. I think it is imperative that we sample the wells that are having problems. Step one, okay? I also think that a random sample, now you were saying how many, you said 5 that you were gonna test, is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's what I put in writing, but I'm
Okay,
flexible.
I mean, to me, 5 out of what is it, 187? That's no random sample. Okay, that is not going to be a statistically significant sample that you're going to be performing. I mean, I think you need to have more.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Can we, I'd like to maybe talk about this criteria, talk about this, and get some input from some water people. Maybe I can talk to Larry Lassard, get his feedback, maybe continue this, but in the meantime, we can start doing some sampling of those 5.
Okay, how about this?
I'm just trying to help.
I would like to see sampled the houses that are having issues, and you compare that with a reasonable, or with a similar number of houses that are not having issues, to make a control comparison, okay, number one. Beyond that, I think that you can therefore come up with a statistically significant randomization of the remaining houses to perhaps confirm that that is indeed the case with the rest of them. But I think the importance is you want to look at the places that are having trouble now and comparing it with those that are not having trouble and see, is there a difference? And hopefully be able to say, okay, if there's no difference, that means something. If there is a difference, then that also says something. That can narrow down where to try to decide what these problems are. But I mean, that would be my first step, and I wouldn't, it wouldn't be something, well, we have to continue, we have to wait another month before we do anything else. I think this could be done now. And again, you have a sample, you know, these houses are having trouble. What is their water status? Compare that with houses, a similar number that's not having trouble. Then we can talk about a randomized sample of the entire system.
I'm in agreement with that approach. Because
I hate to say it, but that's scary.
get a representative sample, both controlled and we'll take a look at those issues. And what we want to, again, I think I know where we're going on this. I'm just trying to get the parameters of the actual lab, what sampling methodology to use. And I think we can work it that way. So I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's something we can do. And again, we can take, first we have to identify those residents which we haven't already addressed. Again, we've worked with some residents that have had some issues with that confirmatory sampling, but we will take a look at those and we will submit something to the Board of Health.
Tomorrow?
Maybe tonight, maybe midnight. No, I'm just kidding. I can tell you probably sometime next week. Why? I don't think we can do it. We got to figure out. I got to sit down. I know you're here. Abby, I got to go Abby, because she gets the complaints and I get the complaints. Well, the group gets the complaints, so we just got to figure it out. So it takes some time. But yeah, I don't have a problem with moving this along, but I am busy working on some contractual things for the Woodland area.
The issue I have, George, is this has been going on for 2 years,
Yeah,
at least.
yeah.
Okay? There needs to be an end. But people have to have safe water to drink.
But we've been doing it all the way through. It's just recently that we're running into these, how did you say the highlighting. Okay, so let's take what we just talked about. We will get a criteria and get some people out, but at the same time,
So what do you think you've heard?
what do you think I've heard?
Well, you said, let's take.
We're gonna do a sampling, we're gonna take representative sample of those who have, and we might even have data for this on some of them, of those who have had complaints, and we're gonna take a control group of an equivalent amount.
So do we know how many?
Well,
That was my question.
That's.
She's gonna get that to me in a line.
In the list is going to contain,
The list we would provide would be the homes that have complained.
Yeah,
And then
we,
they would do what I would understand is they would do the reverse of finding a similar amount of homes that have not complained on the flip side.
Okay, I mean, you could just say even, to keep it random, every 4th house or something like that, who have not complained, if you wanna do something, if you wanna pick the control group. Or ideally, you wanna use a random numbers table, but that's a little bizarre.
I think it would be fine for them to pick like the uncomplained homes, you know, knowledge about that, we just, if they haven't complained, they haven't complained, doesn't necessarily mean they
Right.
have issues. We could get a whole log of all the people that have complained, provide that. I guess the question would be, do you wanna say all of the complaints, because I can't guarantee what are off the top of my head right now.
Well, okay, we'll find out, we'll put this together. See, we have a like number of controls, and if you have to, you have a list of everybody who's had it, just go every 4th or 3rd. You know, so that you're gonna get a feeling entire area, just, not just a street or something.
and I think it may be Christine to figure out, because you match up what's complaints and how we respond, because we get.
I don't wanna speak for the board, but I don't think existing data would cover this requirement. Existing data they might provide for other complaints, I don't think would go for this.
Right,
I think we would
this is
wanna
just
see new
you.
testing and like a certified lab. Because he's saying he might be able to provide existing data, I don't think that would cover.
I don't think
this
I
requirement.
have yet to see any existing data that comes even close to what it is that, and I'm concerned George's proposal was 5 homes at random. My position is 187 homes. Mike's position, I'm not sure you came up with a.
Suggested 20 to 25.
I'm just saying right now, before we start a random sample of the entire area, let's look at the houses that are having problems and then compare that with a similar number of controls. And just look first at that area, and then we can talk further on, do we want or do we need to do a random sample of the entire facility? Then we have to go through the entire affected area. Then we have to say, we have to look at this statistically as to what is the appropriate number of houses to test, to make a true random sample.
And what are we testing for?
Your criteria.
Your criteria, I guess.
Okay.
As
The ones in our regulations.
Yeah.
Primary.
Right, but yeah, that's why we might even add something with factory issues or something else.
Yeah, so at least,
So we're gonna we'll find it. That's
but minimum.
And you're going to, you may already have, I don't know, you're going to pull the initial test results, the pre-occupancy test results on every home that we have them on within the study area.
Within the entire
Is that all?
city area, so I guess my
Up to
understanding of how to proceed, I will pull the list of complaints. I will pull those files to ensure we have that backup data.
Yeah.
And that would be the starting point to say, here's our list of complaints, we've got 16 of them. I don't know if that's accurate. This is the starting point, and now find 16 homes without complaints, sample
So-
both, and then we can
So just so I understand, if there are 16 people on the list that have complained about their water quality.
Yep.
Then we're gonna do 32 homes. The 16 that didn't complain are gonna be pulled randomly. And all of these homes are gonna have the pre-occupation test results.
So what we would need is, once we provide you the number and say these are the addresses, we would need you to propose addresses so that we can ensure that we have that accurate data on file.
So the board's gonna pick the complaints and
That'll come from
that's what I'm sorry, she is.
The ultimate approval for this plan
Of course.
needs coming.
For the purposes so that I understand it, if we have to write this up, is the Board of Health is gonna go through and find the criteria for the complainers. And the applicant will do the random sample, but we'll have to get back to the board to make sure we have the pre-occupation results. Is that how that's gonna go?
Sounds reasonable.
sounds very
Yeah.
reasonable.
And then do you want us to reconvene prior to, or do you want them to just begin sampling these homes once me and George come to it? Because I know part of the concern.
No, any plan needs to have come before the board.
Okay, so I kill 16, not sure if that's
Right.
accurate.
Plus or
George
minus.
says 16, we confirm, yep, these all have accurate existing data. We then bring that to you and say, here's the 16, this is why we chose them, is this appropriate?
We wanna do that quickly.
So we want to.
Yeah, I mean, just certainly.
If you wanna have a cutoff date as to complaints, because I think that happened in the federal court. So, you wanna have a cutoff date on when the complaints came
No,
in?
I don't want to cut anybody off from complaining.
No, we're not saying that. It's the evaluation and the analysis. No, anybody can complain anytime they want, it happens.
So you're gonna come back in what, 2 weeks, a week?
At this point, the way things run, we'd like to have it in front of, and you guys speak up. Like to have the plan for approval in front of the board at the next meeting.
Okay.
And that means the plan needs to be formulated and agreed to by you two, a week prior.
So,
It's right to say a week.
so that means literally next Tuesday, I'll need to have a plan set for you all.
Okay, but I don't know how much more, the only plan is picking the houses. I mean, you should have the list of complaints now.
Yes.
And then,
But then we have to pull the files and review, so.
Make sure we have.
We can try our very best.
okay, then,
And if not, would you all be agreeable to us, if we're not able to make that deadline, whether office issues or whatever, and we push it, I understand that we don't wanna keep pushing it off, it's just realistically, that gives me 2 days.
2 days.
2 days that I already have full inspections. That means it's not on Thursday, then it's Tuesday, right?
Enough people, let's say, we have all the complaints, and we have 5 of those, in my opinion, they start, and we could be planning by the next.
They could start dealing with
Right.
complainers, that's really the key that I think for 16, and then they say, yes, here we go, and they start that and then bring you guys the other ones, but as
What I fear is the sampling will start before the board, and something won't be in the analytical results.
I would be happy to witness said samples if, they're agreeable to.
But you're not gonna be at the lab to make sure that the full list
No,
gets
but
sent.
we have a full list that we put in our envelopes, so we can seal them up if that's what the board would like to see. If agreeable, we have a very specific process where we take the samples, we fill, which we would be fine with you guys next technically with the sample. With our list of contaminants.
Yeah, no, you basically circumvent what needs to be done. So, your chain of custody concerns, we will be doing.
You need to understand that we require some of the way to be there. Samples as well.
Yeah.
The same way we do prior to occupancy and is that a way to move forward on this?
I'm happy with that.
But if you need me at that hearing, I can't be here, but I don't know that you do need me. It's should be quick.
It should be straightforward.
Well, I'm concerned that Abby's saying she only has 2 days.
Yes,
Okay.
I would be concerned about that as well.
Okay, so
I
again,
can't guarantee. I
So-
cannot guarantee that we'll be able to accommodate that.
So are we willing to establish a different meeting date?
You could get her
between-
results, rather than a week in advance, get them Thursday before the meeting.
actually, if they get the list of affected houses,
Yeah.
then, why can't that sampling start? We have a criteria, we have the list of complaints.
If you go to Neshoba, you say a Westminster scan, I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna be upfront. We run so many samples through our regulations, we put the sample, like I said, I can provide that list so that they provide it, but it's pretty, Westminster scan is, it's well known. They know it.
And
Again,
seven
you're not
to
required
14.
to use Neshoba,
And
but
seven
any
to
certified
14.
lab, and if they don't know, we're happy to navigate those conversations and ensure they know what they have to test for.
It's
And
seven.
then I guess you could say, if they miss anything, you need to go back and resample. If they pull fluoride off and for some reason it wasn't sampled, all right, maybe do a retest for just fluoride to make the complete set of contaminants. I would say it would be more beneficial to get it started, so that you have some action on it, cause, you know. But I also am, if you give me till Thursday, I think we could probably get that done to have that to you by the end of next week, so you have it for
Okay.
Is that just the 16th?
Monday.
Okay.
I
Oh,
Don't see it being that big an issue.
Will Jeff come up with a recommendation rather than a week before? If you got a plan put together for our approval, does it buy you enough time if you just need to have that for the Thursday
For
before?
just the complaints, yes, and then I don't know what time.
No, the whole plan.
The whole plant, well, that's up to, I mean, then they would be
We'd have
on
to
the
schedule
other
it.
end having to look at their numbers, so
Coordinate,
just
schedule.
realistically, I don't think they're gonna make that timeline for that.
Yeah, and that's fine, we can coordinate, we'll schedule, it's just a question of getting those people out there that do this work. Larry Lassard obviously is going to be part of the process.
Okay,
So you
let me
feel as
interrupt
if-
for a second. A piece of paper that says, this is what we're going to do. Well, forget when testing starts, forget when anything else starts. A piece of paper that says a plan of what is agreed to be done for the board's approval at the next meeting. Is it possible?
I can commit to pulling files for the complaints, and I can commit to giving the complaints, and then if George is able to commit to providing the other homes, together we can combine that and give a
What
plan.
are-
I'm okay with the
What are the
Thursday.
homes?
So you want
Yeah,
the
the
complaints, and then you want the
Yeah,
other
but-
homes that.
We're gonna choose the random ones too. Oh,
Well, no,
How did you choose
it?
No, we don't change
We
it.
choose one that we do have
Yeah.
records.
Oh, I usually darn.
So you don't care what the other random ones
If
are?
there are houses that have the complaints,
Well, we wanna know that we're choosing, homes that we have records for,
Right?
so that, and then he can choose out that list.
Well,
How can I explain how I anticipated it to?
Sure, go ahead.
Alright, so I will go get our list of complaints, I will go pull the files, I will provide all of the list of complaints to George with the addresses, we have sufficient information. George will then provide us back as many as you would like, and we'll look at sufficient records, and then I do his list, or are you okay with him saying, here's the 60 information on who hasn't complained. You know what I mean? They could be complaining to their neighbor but not to us, so we only have information on those who have complained. The rest of the homes are just existing, and I mean, that is at this point, that would be your
I guess-
discretion to make that decision, but I understood it as George would provide me those back, I would say, yes, we have those files, together we put both of those list of complainers, list of non-complainers, here's our sample.
Yeah, well, you want
It
to,
just seems to me it'd be more simple. If there are 16 complaints, then we give George 32 addresses. Okay, and then you guys are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I think you have to, you need I think Larry Lassard in the loop is important. I think he has to conclude it similarly situated, he's a similarly situated. So again, I know we wanna do this quickly and we have no problem, but we wanna do it the right way. Okay?
Who is the filtration expert that's been working on these issues from?
Larry Lassard.
So, if he's the filtration expert, why don't you have a filtration company that does it day in and day out, who are experts
They're
in
on,
this field?
they're on it because each,
Safe one,
what's that?
safe one.
Yeah, and again, each system is unique in each, and again, we can talk about it, we can look into that, but we usually use Morse Brothers to implement what Larry wants.
I understand, but they're
So
plumbers.
it's a form, yeah, it's a form.
They're plumbers. They're not filtration experts.
When you say filtration experts, what do you mean? Activated carbon?
No, I'm talking about people, there are people in business that do nothing but solve people's filtration issues. That's all they do, and they're good at it, they're excellent.
I think it's usually reserved to whoever company they're representing to install the system.
What's that?
It's usually, you have individuals that are marketing certain filter systems. And you get conflicting opinions on how best to address a certain pollutant. So my point is I think we're generalizing too much, so.
There are multiple
Particularly, I
paths.
think that may just to confirm.
Safe law?
Yes.
We work with filtration companies.
Yeah, but again-
Consistently who just do the filter and don't have anything to do with the well drilling, Parker Enterprises and those.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, fine.
Yagi will do filtration systems on wells, I mean, all of them have.
If we can use them instead of Morse Brothers, then we can talk about it. We're very open to something like that.
Okay, so, are we set with this?
No.
No. Well, I don't know.
I still gotta get over the hump
I know.
of what's gonna happen
I'm just
here.
trying to find the hump
Yeah.
that you're.
Well, the hump is,
Do we propose all wells, or are we okay with George providing back?
right, and is that gonna lengthen the process if George chooses them? Because he'll say 16 addresses, you're gonna then look in the files and see whether or not you have the backup information. Then you gotta go back in the other direction.
Well, he can give us, if he gives us 32 houses or double the number, and then you just go down the list and say, okay, I have information on this one, fine. I don't have information on this one, scratch, go to the next one.
And then
Okay.
we could supplement those ones that we don't have
Yeah.
information.
All
Say,
those
well, we
things
don't
are-
have, 205 whatever, but we have 206 on this street, so here you go, do this
So-
one instead.
Okay, so, Abby.
Yep.
From an operations standpoint, next meeting, I'll plan, that can go in front of the board with all the details on it, addresses, everything. At this point, it doesn't have to be implemented, okay? Just to get the board's okay. Is that possible for the next meeting?
And we'll give you to the Thursday.
I think we can do that, as
Okay.
long as we can, me and George can work.
Yeah,
Together. We
if
already
we
know
are-
the rest of the
You know,
board,
if there
basically,
were
it's just.
a couple of
Because
CDs on
additionally,
I'm
there,
happy to work with
I
Chris.
would be okay with Hillary that if she didn't want to. Okay.
Otherwise, we'll be at 45 days again.
Just for the record, there's a lot going on right now with DEP, deadlines, permanent solutions, contracts, approvals with the town engineer. It's a rather large bottleneck that we're trying to get through. So just be cognizant of the fact that there's only so many hours in the day. That's right.
So I guess if that.
And I'm sensitive to that. You got a mammoth task. There's no two ways about it.
Thank you.
So is there concern then that we can't get together
I know-
for that Thursday, or?
I know getting hold of Larry is difficult. That was the
Okay,
extent.
so
He's
I would
working on
rather
it
us
now.
be upfront and just say, that's unrealistic, let's plan.
Yeah, I just gotta
Yeah.
keep Larry in the loop.
Something you gave us a heads up on, your back drilling couplets. It was 80
Is
couplets,
that what it was?
and you said you started drilling on Monday.
I believe Larry represented that to me.
Did we get notice?
I didn't see no it come through.
There's
I don't
a,
know, I can check with him.
please check on
Yeah,
that,
because it was just.
because that's a requirement.
Yeah, and again, because I was kind of hounding him going, hey, when are we going to get these things going? Because what the Board of Health has to know is our our responsibilities only go as far as migration on and off of the M&F facility, not other potential PFAS sources that the board needs to be cognizant of down the road, and our responsibilities might end at certain points in certain areas.
Okay.
But they'll be picked up by other PRPs, hopefully.
What's that?
They'll be picked up,
Yeah.
responsibility following, so we're hoping that other people will assist.
We're so excited. with that said, we need to vote.
Final motion.
We need to continue this to a time and date, sir, is I think what you want to do.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to take a vote of removing, Lassard from this order.
Oh, we did the last
I
one.
thought we did.
Did we vote? We
Yes.
did it on the first one, but I'm not sure we did it on the second one.
I thought you did, did we already do it? Yeah.
Oh, we did, we could do it next.
All right,
You can do it.
I move that we remove Larry
Twice.
Lassard and Lassard Engineering from, being a responsible party, on the filtration order.
Seconded.
All in favor? Will you send a letter to Ms. Lassard this week, just basically saying that the board has voted to take him off as a responsible party on both orders? Yes? Okay. All right, and I'd like to, make a motion to continue this hearing. What's the date of our next meeting?
June 1st. Oh, it's June 1?
That's our big.
Oh, I'm not going to make it. Oh, it's 2. How are you doing Tuesdays?
This was 45 days,
June 1st,
June 1st, 2026.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, George, in relation to order number 1, by April 1st, 2026, you were to submit to the Board of Health a list of wells to be decommissioned and are used as monitor wells. We haven't seen that.
It hasn't been, they haven't been identified yet.
So you're in violation of this law.
Well, again, it's not, this is up, we're in this kind of, we brought it up in the technical meeting, you were there, is, we need to have guidance from the department, which one. Larry's supposed to do it. It'd take 5 minutes once we get.
I've got an email
From the
I have meeting minutes that says where you agreed that the department was not delaying that response.
They're not, but I'm saying is with the data that's coming in, Lassard is evaluating the locations which he might want to do. My own personal idea is to decommission all of them, all right? But again, I'm at the beck and call of the LSP, who wants to evaluate which wells he wants to use as sampling locate points. And it's not for lack of trying, I'm saying.
So 4 weeks ago, I thought we had an agreement on this, and you're saying you can't meet it.
I'm saying I can't meet it, because I haven't received anything from the LSP record.
Okay.
Now I can turn around and say, listen, I really, if the board would like to allow me, a little additional time where he could submit something, but then for this issue as to which wells he wants to keep, I think there was one issue regarding one well couldn't be found. Again, I'm just going from memory, but we can, I will definitely have Mr. Lassard respond within the next few days.
My recollection of the discussion about that one well that couldn't be found had to do with the Woodland group.
Yeah.
Not with, the 15 homes that were,
Yeah.
connected to municipal
I
water.
thought it was one. I know, again, you're refreshing my memory. I believe he went out there to locate, couldn't locate one of them. And he was going out there to find another way of finding them. And I think that's what happened. So I can check with him and see if they're out there. If not, then again, it was
Okay,
no
but
intent.
again, we've deviated off the topic. The topic
The answer is no.
is whether or not we can find a well as the ones that you're going to keeping as monitor wells needed to be secured, labeled, and equipment reviewed. Is that scheduled for June 1st?
again, I can get back to you because I don't know at this time. I do know that we owe you a decommissioning schedule, but before we can do that, he has to identify those wells that need to be decommissioned.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
DPW received a well decommissioning plan
Oh, they did?
with the water line submittal, and that not only states homeowners are responsible for decommissioning wells, it looks more plan than what we've ever received.
Yeah.
So, a little.
I think there's two things. One is the Woodland issue.
So
which-
this is specific to that.
Yeah,
That
so-
would make sense, but again, more than what we
Yeah, that has nothing to do with
received.
those 14 that we've been talking about in my and I've been working to get the professional LSP, the engineers and geologists to give me that information. I'd like to do that this week, but again, I think what happens is again, there's so much going on. We are on top of this, but we've requested it from the Design Environmental on numerous occasions, so I will again attempt to get a deadline, identification, and those a schedule to decommission. It's not a big deal. It's so simple.
Okay.
He was supposed to get the actual. Remember the PFAS and the. Apparently there was a delay. We were trying to get the identifications we couldn't use it because it was PFAS in the labels. So that let me give you the next time I see you, I will have those answers.
Yeah, I mean, the
I
labels,
apologize.
I understand that if you're looking for a stick-on label that's printed, yeah, it may be an issue, but I mean, to me, it's as simple as, you know, a dog tag that a soldier wears is stamped metal that doesn't contain any PFAS. It's only metal, you know.
I think
and a scribed label would do it.
So, Mike, in reverse, I'm agreeing
Yeah.
with the chair. How's that? You're absolutely right. We've talked about it, so I can really, I can move on this
So I would ask you to take a look at the first order.
one. Yeah, I just looked through the cracks, man. I didn't even come with it. I was so focused on this other issue that
I understand.
apologize.
I understand. Did you?
I'm good.
So at this point,
And we voted to continue the meeting to
Yes.
June first.
June 1st.
is there any input for enforcement on order one from Jeff, or
Not
are
at
we
this point.
allowing?
No.
Thank you.
You can let Mr. Lassard know if he doesn't have that stuff by June 1st, the next letter's coming out with his name all over.
I think
That's
that's
a
awesome.
responsible party. Maybe that will get him moving.
Thank you, Council. Council, thank you. Duly noted, and I will use it.
Okay.
All right, do either one of you have? George, I'd like to thank you. And I know it's a difficult job.
I've been doing this for a long time, and this is as complicated, and we're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to deal with, there's still new regs, still cutting edge. We haven't even talked about the radon issues, so that's working on it. So, again, a lot of moving parts, but we're getting a handle on it.
And
And I appreciate the board's help.
well, in the where the board's coming from is the residents need safe water to drink. And we're here to make sure as best we can that happens. And it could be safe to drink, but we don't know.
Yeah, let's